Hey everybody, Ark here, and today we're going to be doing the second video of the RWBY series review that we're going to be doing. And today we're going to be doing something that I think everybody can agree who watches the show, everyone is interested in, and that is the characters. Now, be warned, this will be a spoiler-filled video. So if you haven't watched the story, all of the seasons, or you haven't watched, up to date as much as you want to be, I would not watch this. I literally would not watch this. You will be spoiled for plot twists and character development and character changes. So please, I'm telling you this right now in various forms and giving you all the time in the world. Please go away and watch the awesomeness that is RWBY and then come back to the video. I will wait. Waiting over, I'm bored. Alright. So for those of you who may or may not know, RWBY has an extremely diverse cast of characters, all with amazing clothes and weapons and personalities and all that stuff. And they've inspired various cosplays, various people connecting to the characters, and just in general, like, a lot of happiness and buzz. So we're going to be discussing the characters as much as I possibly can on characters that are relatively important or played some part in the story. So pointless side characters, I won't really be delving too much into unless I feel like there's going to be a significant point. And also, the reviews of these characters will include what I first thought of the character, what I thought of the character toward the end, how I felt the character developed, and what I think they'll be doing in the next season. So to start, of course, we have to start with the show's main character and the show's namesake, oddly enough, Ruby Rose. I think Ruby started off, when I watched her in the trailer, being hands down one of the just out there characters. She was this very mysterious, childlike, and pretty badass with a giant sniper sight. Gotta admit that. I mean, her weapon is fucking amazing. But she starts off as a very innocent child who, from when she speaks to Blake, you can tell from the very beginning she's very into the thought of, fairy tales and good versus evil and good always winning, and just very conventional methods of, how children view the world in a very black and white sort of thing. Either you're doing what's good or you're doing what's wrong, and there's no gray area in between. And that's very different because in most animes, when characters have that mentality, the story follows them in having a very white versus black mentality, or like a good versus evil. There's no in between. There's no gray areas. Which is also weird in the fact that from the very beginning you find that Remnant has a lot of situations, groups, and characters who fall into that gray area, and RWBY's ability to kind of put them on one side or the other is just really interesting as to who she sees as good and who she sees as evil. I think her character development over the series was very well done. They tried very much so to keep intact her thought and mentality, while also kind of revealing to her that that wasn't always the case. And so it kind of shifted her views, but she held very steadfast to what she believed. And I think it wasn't really torn down until recently. I think now she's having to put into that judgment that not everybody's good who says they're good, and not everybody's evil is really evil. She's really had to think about that. And I think what Torchwick said to her while she was on the plane really kind of stuck with her, and how he died and everything. Not so more than Penny's death or Pyrra's death or anything that happened, but I think specifically that he seemed to be it's not a matter of good versus evil. It's not a matter of one versus the other. It's a matter of survival, a matter of just doing what it took to survive. And I think parts of that have stuck with her and are gonna help her character grow and develop. Also, the loss of her friends definitely rip her out of that, childlike persona of being able to ignore the world around her, or ignore the fact that there are some things that happen, and it's not whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing, it's whether someone's doing this because they don't have a choice. They have to survive. They have to live. And I feel like part of her wanting to get out there is seeking those answers. And I think that's what's going to be with her for season 4. Is just going to be her seeking those answers. Next, of course, is her shipmate, Weishney. Weishney is personally one of my favorite characters. I love the mess out of her. She's probably, out of all the characters, the most like me. She starts off this series very cynical, very half-hearted toward people, and for the most part she is very, very backbiting, very elitist, so to speak, where she believes herself to be to that point of going to achieve greatness. And I think one of the reasons I like Weiss best is because she puts into example one of the storytelling kind of things that I like. And that's when a character has a goal set in mind and they go after it even though the audience doesn't understand it. There's a lot of characters who are like that, and I personally like hers the best because we don't understand her actions until you really understand her reasoning. Like, her actions seem one way. Like, for someone who watched it and didn't know, which is most everybody, you would think that Weiss was just kind of an asshole. And you would think, why is it after she totally accepted RWBY and was like, yes, I'll be this way if you'll be this way, and we'll try to mesh and work together, why did she turn back on her after not making leader? And that's because Weiss's goal was never to put RWBY down at that point. It was frustration and anger and feeling that she wasn't meeting the goals she set for herself. She wanted to be a top huntress so that she could make the amends toward her father's company. And I think slowly throughout that episode where that happens, she starts to understand that she's not going to be able to just railroad her way to success. She has to stop and think about what's happening and kind of assess situation bit by bit and sort of understand that at the end of the day, just being the best fighter or just being the most capable person on the battlefield isn't enough. You have to be willing to work with the people around you and make those relationships with those people work, which is why she eventually is more cordial toward RWBY. And the way that you can see a lot of her attitude and mannerisms come from being more closed up, like how she usually puts her arms on her hands or she'll fold them across her chest, and when she becomes more open with her dialogue and her gestures, even to the point of when you find out in the first season that Weiss's family was plagued by faunus attacking them and killing them. That's not something you just tell everybody. That's something she develops the ability to feel comfortable enough to tell them over time. And I think that shows like a great change of character for her. And I think she's going to be the most interesting to me come the next season, because I feel like at this point she's gone back to her parents. She's gone back to her father and her sister and Atlas. And I think she's at that point delved back into the company, or she's become the singer that, she could have been. And I think they'll go the company route, just because I think at this point it's going to become Weiss's storyline to kind of uncover and expose some of the secrets of the company. And I think it really will come to a point of Weiss having to set aside, that dream to redeem the company and her father's actions, and understanding that in order to heal this wound that her father has caused, she'll first have to expose it and kind of let the world see what's happened and what's gone on. And it'll depend on how many years or months that the time skip has been. But I think it's really going to come down to a matter of really just Weiss accepting the fact that the life that her father wants for her isn't the life that she wants, and she can't just ignore him anymore, or she can't just play along anymore. She has to grow defiant. She has to completely push away everything that he represents and fight it. And I think she loves her father. I think she loves her father dearly. But I think she's ashamed of what he's done, and that her and her sister kind of just sit there and let it happen if she knows about it. Or that I think even though Winter knows, but she doesn't, so if she finds out that Winter knows, I think she's going to be even more disgusted with her family. Not hating them, but just really being like, how could you do this? How could you let this happen? And having grown as close to she has to not only other faunus, but also other people in general, and just not understanding why they would allow this to happen. I know I've gone on long about Weiss, but again, she's my favorite character. And I love her weapon and her fighting style and everything else about her. I could go on about her for hours, but I won't. Next is Blake Belladonna. Blake Belladonna is probably one of the most interestingly conflicted characters, Weiss aside, because she's a faunus who is perpetually mistreated, or a part of a race that is perpetually mistreated, looked down upon, and thought of as basically only one evolutionary step up from Grimm. And I think that's plagued her a lot of her life, and she wants to try and move past it. But in the essence of the fact that she hides her identity with a bow, I think that part of her really just, she hides and tries to blend in. And I think it's going to come to a head eventually that she's not going to be able to hide anymore. She's not going to be able to just put herself on the back burner. And I think I kind of like, a scene with her and Velvet where she asks Velvet, how are you so calm and accepting of being so out and open with yourself when, especially like her, she hides all the time. And I think Velvet would kind of be like, why are you hiding yourself? Like, why are you ashamed? And I don't think she's going to Velvet's going to shame Blake. I think she's going to be like, why would you hide yourself? Like, what's the reasoning? I think there's a little more to Blake's backstory about why she hides herself behind the bow, as opposed to what she said, which was just kind of like avoiding confusion. I think there's like one specific event in particular that kind of made her just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't expose myself like this anymore. I think, as far as character development went, she had the most dramatic change in the second and third season. I don't think she went through much in the first. I think first she pretty much stayed how she was. But the second and third were her overarching anger towards the mistreating of the faunus, and just basically accepting and understanding that there are people in the world who will accept her as she is, and just trying to understand what it is she really wants to do with the ability she's been given. I think that was a really big part of her development for season 2, and in season 3 it's just her kind of coming to terms with the fact that she can't just sit idly by and wait any longer. It was her biggest problem in 2, but I think towards 3 she really was just exhausted. She was tired of running, she's tired of hiding, and I think that's reflected in her outfit change for in the 4th season, because as many people have noted, her outfits have been very toned toward dark and black colors, so that it was like more like she was hiding. But in 4, her overall coat is white. It exposes her. It kind of makes her stand out, and it gives her kind of a flair, especially with a flared up collar, of her being in charge, of her being a boss of some kind. And I think a lot of people have either stated that either A, she's gone back to Adam, she's surrendered, her inability to keep people from getting hurt has just made her feel like she's worthless, and therefore she has no place amongst people who actually love her, and that since she's a monster, that's the best she can do to stop Adam from hurting the people she loves, or that she's raised up a counter group to fight back against the White Fang and against the forces that have ravaged the world. And I think she's kind of grown up a resistance group against that. And I think either way, it'll be an interesting storyline. I just think most people are hoping for the radical group because they really just want Yang and Blake to make up. And I do too. Please, go back to her. She misses you. Oh yeah. And Yang. I think Yang is the hardest character to say development-wise. It started thundering? Oh my god. It literally just out of nowhere there was such thunder. Holy shit. There was thunder out of nowhere. Like, I don't even know if you guys hear it. It was like, ka-da! I was like, ah, crap. It's gonna make going to work in a couple minutes really awkward. But I think Yang has had one of the most interesting developments because she was very stagnant for the first and the second season. Although you find out the reasons for what she does, why she does in the second season, I think that doesn't do much to develop her character. And a lot of people were complaining that she was one of the least developed characters. However, I think most people also regretted complaining about her being one of the least developed characters when Yang got her arm cut off in the third season. Most people were like, what the fuck? And they were expecting like robotic arm or prosthetic or some way to get Yang back into the action. But I think based off of her character's outfit for the fourth season, I think it's easy to say that Yang is definitely not back into the fight. However, a lot of people speculated that the kind of jacket that she's wearing has an insignia and group on it that kind of plays off that she might be some part of a group or might have taken up some kind of authority-like figure. So I don't think she'll be as playful as she was. Like I said, development-wise, Yang didn't really develop much as a character over the season. Over the seasons of 1 and 2, and in 3, she just went through a very dramatic change. She didn't really develop in 3, she just had a dramatic change. I think 4 will be her character's shining moment of development and struggle. I think also her compliant worries about her mother's disappearance will play a very big part in 4, much more than it did in 3. Also, I think a lot of people are just wondering about that dream thing it had where she kind of took her mask off and she was like, of where the other part of her took her mask off and she's like, we need to talk. I think a lot of people are assuming that's Blake's Yang's like dark side or like her irrational rage side, that the after effects of her boost in power from her semblance manifests itself within her. And I think that's a very good claim, that, you know, that anger and rage she feels when she goes into her semblance is manifesting itself in that manner. And oh my god, it is full on raining. I have to bike to work in like 20 minutes. Oh my god. Oh, this is gonna suck. I wonder if anyone would give me a ride from work. Oh, I hate this so much. But I think that's just something that she has to come to terms with and she has to understand for herself. And I think it's going to be something really interesting to see. But that is Team RWBY. And we're going to go to the second team I'm going to do for this. And then I'm going to do a separate video for all the minor characters because I won't have much to say about them. We're going to go to Team JNPR. Starting with Jean. Jean has, without a doubt, seen the most development a character can possibly have. Jean started off as a very underskilled, weak, lying, scheming person who was consistently down on himself and did not value or understand his abilities at all. He also remains to be one of 2 characters whose semblances we don't know, despite being a main character, a pivotal main character in the series. I think at the beginning I did not like Jean's character one bit. I can say I liked him as a comedic effect, but as far as the story went, I was just like, eh. But then the whole arc with Cardin came, and I just was like, what the heck? Wow, you have character depth. You're showing a different side now. This is a different side of you than the whole happy-go-lucky guy. And I think his dynamic with Cardin and his dynamic with Pyrra were 2 of his most like prominent features in the show. It did make me kind of sad when Cardin just kind of kicked the bucket as far as a character went, and that they never developed anything between Cardin and Jean. Although, as a side note, and I will expound on this further in when I go to Cardin as a character I'm going to describe in the next video, I think Cardin's going to have a moment with Jean that's really just going to solidify them in a kind of a bro moment. I kind of want that to happen. I really do. Like, I feel like that's the Cardin we deserve, personally. But that's aside the point. I feel like Jean's definitely going to turn into a more inspirational character. I think he has so far. He's definitely gone leagues in his battle sense. and his confidence, even though I think it took a shattering hit when what happened at Beacon. And it's shown that, and although a lot of people were like afraid he's going to get over Pyrra and there's just going to be a Pyrra didn't happen sort of thing, I think you have to understand, as far as Jean goes, that for him, there was clearly a one season at least change between when Pyrra died and the story continued as them heading off to Haven. So I think, or was it Mistral? I can't remember. But I believe that's a significant amount of time for like physical grieving. And I think now he just has to like emotionally adapt. And I think that might have happened over the time skip. But I appreciate that even if they're not going to like delve too deeply into it, I appreciate that they've at least like understood that there was time necessary for it. And I think they will kind of push, like kind of go back to the point where, you know, he did grieve. Like there was grievance that happened. We just didn't see it. And there was an ample amount of time for it. Because I feel like when a lot of characters die in shows, characters kind of get over it. And it's been like a week since they died. Like they died a week ago and now characters are completely over it. And they don't really care. And la da 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 da, life is happening, la la la, I'm having fun. I'm killing things and I don't care about the person I killed before or the person who died or whatever. And I think I like that they've said, no, there's a considerable chunk of time in between this, because we know everyone needs a time to get over Pyrrha's death and over Penny's death, and for Jean in particular, who was the closest to Pyrrha, I think that's something that really needed to happen. Juniper. Next is Nora. Or I'm actually going to do Nora and Ren together because they both kind of have my same thing. They've really stayed one-dimensional characters, the both of them. Ren being on one side, being the stoic character with smiled hilarity moments, and Nora being the hilarious character with mild stoic moments. And I think both those moments really play to their character, like Ren being a bit of a health nut to the extreme with the green god knows what. And I think Nora just being more observant than everybody else about the dynamics between Jean and Pyrra, and just as a general rule being more observant in general. And I think that's something a lot of people miss about Nora, is that she's really keen on picking up things that most people wouldn't see or wouldn't notice. And I think that gets downplayed by her goofy, like, hilarious exterior and kind of play-showy sort of attitude she has. But I think Pyrrha is definitely one of those, not Pyrrha, oops. Nora is definitely one of those people that she sees more than she says and lets on. And because of that, it gives off the appearance that she doesn't know much, but that she's a lot smarter than what she thinks. Like I said, it's showcased by her understanding the Pyrra and Jean dynamic and kind of being able to spot it head on. Like when they're just talking, and instead of interrupting the moment, because they're a team, they shouldn't have any moments hidden between them, she sees the both of them just sitting there, and she yanks Ren and she goes, hey, let's go get another toy, because she observes and she knows. I mean, granted, it's obvious to us, but she sees deeper into it than most. And I think Ren has a very stoic personality, but I think it hides a part of him that he wants to keep away from people. And I think we're definitely going to see the both of them kind of open up more and kind of be more emotional, so to speak, or just more capable of seeing more into their characters and then developing the way Team RWBY has. I'm also kind of interested because Nora mentioned when you first see both the characters that they have no parents to go home to, and I'm kind of curious as to why that is and how they grew up. And it's also mentioned that it's shown that when they're going to do their separate mission before what's the town they live in? Vale gets attacked, or gets attacked by the train of the Grim, that Ren really wanted to go see some village. I'm inclined to think that's the village where they grew up in, and that he wanted to go see that, as to go and visit the people he grew up with, or maybe not, I don't know. But there's just been several pokes and hints, as about as many as Velvet's weapon hints, as to their past and their history. And while Velvet's was a little more open and honest, theirs is a little more sneaky and hidden. And I'm really curious because I just want to know, and then I'm not being told anything, and it's aggravating me because I feel like when I find out, they're just going to be my two faves. They're going to become my babies like the rest of them. And last but not least, R.I. Pyrra. Oh, God. I think Pyrra was a character that didn't really develop in the first season. Second season, you saw more of her vulnerabilities. And in the third season, you really just saw Pyrrha's breakdown. Her character being ripped of all of its strength and just torn to the bits and pieces that were there. It was kind of like it's kind of like deconstructing a character and kind of letting us see what makes that character tick. And that's really what they did with Pyrra. And that's what they wanted to do with the character, and while I would have loved to have seen her gone forward, I think for the most part they stayed pretty true to her character. Sorry, something on my teeth. Even to the point where she died, like, it didn't feel like Pyrra died just to die. I feel like Pyrra died doing what Pyrra would have done. Pyrra used all of her power to fight and protect the people closest to her. And it's not like she didn't think she wasn't going to die. Pyrra went up there to buy time. She didn't go up there to win, which is why she kissed Jean, which is why she sent him far away. Because she knew she couldn't win, but she was going to fight as hard as she could anyways. And I think for the most part, it really was just a matter of Pyrrha's own personality faults that she felt she had, and her inability to feel like she could connect with other people. Like, that was Pyrrha's goal. That's what she wanted to do. Pyrra wanted to connect with people in a way that she felt she couldn't because of her higher status and abilities. And Jean was able to give that to her, and Nora, and Ren as well, and Team RWBY, and all the friends she made. She was able to connect with people on a level that was equal. She wasn't above them. She wasn't seen as above them. She was seen as their equals, and she enjoyed that feeling. So I feel like as far as goals go, Pyrra got what she wanted. I'm just really sad that she couldn't live out that fantasy life with Jean like we wanted to. But there is the world of fan fiction. So, you know, I can read that and cry silently into my bed at night and pretend like the world is alright and that nothing has gone horribly wrong. And that Pyrra is still with us and Penny is still with us and nothing is wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. I'm laughing, but I really feel broken about that. Oh God, when it happened, when she died. Oh my God, when she died. Oh my God, when she died. Oh God, when she died. I didn't know what to do. I just stared at the screen. I had to rewatch what happened after that because I wasn't paying attention. I was screaming. I was literally screaming. Okay, but I think that's all for this episode of the RWBY review for Team RWBY and Team Juniper. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking about other characters, about why I think Emerald is going to make a comeback as a good character, why I think Cardin is going to get his chance in the sun, why I think Neo is going to come back and she's just going to be as kick-ass as ever, and why in God's name is Neptune afraid of water. All this and more in the next one, so subscribe so you don't miss it. The thunder is insane. Oh my God. I have to ride in that on a bike. Oh my God. Thank you, Raid. Thank you, Thunder. Thank you, Nora. That's Nora. That's Nora for you. Like if you enjoyed the video. Comment if you have your own opinions on the characters and what you think, and we will happily discuss that because I have some theories that I wasn't able to say because I ran out of time. But you know, I'd love to discuss them with you guys in the comments, or hop on over to my Twitter page or my Tumblr page. Both of those are on my channel, so please check that out as well. And subscribe if you guys want to watch more of these videos and just check them out and like talk and fellate, and maybe not that word, but you know, relate, sorry. But please guys, watch, subscribe, comment, all the beautiful, wonderful things that you guys do, and I love you guys so much. Arc out. Bye bye. I can't believe I have to go riding in this rain. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die, guys. Pray for me.